All right, strap in everyone, because today we're diving deep into the world of video game betrayals. Those moments that just hit you right in the feels and leave you kind of stunned.
It's wild, right? I mean, we're talking about fictional characters here, but when they betray us, man, it can feel like a real life gut punch.
It really can. It's that shock, that sudden realization that someone you've trusted, someone you've fought alongside, is actually working against you.
Betrayal cuts deep, because it's a violation of trust, and trust is like the bedrock of any relationship, even the ones we form with characters in games. And when that trust is shattered, especially by someone we're invested in, well, the emotional fallout can be pretty intense.
And it sticks with you. I mean, I can still vividly remember my first playthrough of Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, spending all that time with Big Smoke thinking he was family, and then bam, he goes and betrays the entire Grove Street families. I was floored.
Oh, Big Smoke, yeah. His betrayal is so effective because it comes out of left field.
Yeah.
He's presented as this loyal, supportive character, someone you can always count on. So when he turns, it completely shatters that image. You're left trying to reconcile the Big Smoke you knew with this backstabber who's now your enemy.
It doesn't help that the game throws in that possible connection to CJ's mother's murder. Talk about twisting the knife.
Exactly. That right there adds a whole other layer of personal betrayal. It's not just about the gang anymore, it's about CJ on a deeply personal level. The developers knew what they were doing, tying it to such a pivotal event in CJ's life. It amplified the emotional impact, no question.
Gamers still talk about Big Smoke's betrayal. It's a testament to how deeply it resonated.
Right. That's what well-crafted betrayal does. It gets people talking. It creates these shared experiences that stick with players.
Now, let's switch gears for a second and look at a different kind of betrayal. One that's less about the surprise and more about, well, the anticipation. Micah Bell from Red Dead Redemption 2. You kind of get the vibe from the get-go that this guy is bad news.
Oh, Micah. He's a masterclass in foreshadowing. The game does such a good job of planting seeds of doubt about him right from the start. He's impulsive, selfish, always looking out for number one. You just know he's going to do something shady.
You see it coming, but when it actually happens, it still hits hard. Why is that?
It's all about the consequences. Micah's betrayal has a devastating impact on the gang. I mean, ultimately, it leads to Arthur Morgan's death, and Arthur is a character you really come to care about. So even if you knew Micah was a snake all along, seeing him directly responsible for such a tragic loss, that packs a punch.
It's like the game builds this tension, this dread, and then dot boom. You're both heartbroken, and, let's face it, a little relieved to see Micah get what he deserves.
Red Dead Redemption 2's storytelling is brilliant. Even when you know the betrayal is coming, it doesn't cheapen the emotional impact. It's a fantastic example of using foreshadowing to create a complex, satisfying arc.
These examples, they really show how betrayals, whether they come out of nowhere or you see them from a mile away, can have a profound impact on players.
Right. It's not just about the plot twist itself, it's about that whole emotional roller coaster, which makes you wonder, why do we even get so attached to these characters in the first place? They're not real people, right?
Right.
I think it comes down to the power of storytelling. We humans are wired for narratives. We crave connection with characters. And in video games, you're not just passively watching the story unfold. You're part of it. You're making choices, forming bonds, experiencing the world through the protagonist's eyes.
You're not just an observer, you're a participant. And that makes those betrayals hit even harder because it feels personal.
Exactly. And the best game developers, they get this. They understand that players crave connection, and they use it to craft betrayals that resonate on a deep, personal level. It's why these moments become ingrained in our memories. They set a standard for how powerful video game storytelling can be.
Okay, we can't talk about video game betrayals without mentioning one that totally redefined shocking twist, the Atlas reveal in BioShock.
BioShock, man, such a masterpiece in turning player expectations upside down. The whole game, you're guided by Atlas. He's the voice in your ear, trying to help you navigate this crazy underwater world of rapture.
Yeah, you really start to depend on him. He's like your lifeline in this bizarre, dangerous place.
And then comes that line, would you kindly? Suddenly the floor drops out from under you. This guy, Atlas, the person you trusted, he was actually the villain all along. Frank Fontaine in disguise.
Your whole understanding of the game flips on its head. Everything you thought you knew, gone.
That's what makes BioShock's twist so brilliant. It's not just some random plot device. It makes you think about control, about free will. Even your most trusted allies could have hidden motives.
It makes you realize that trust even in a video game, can be shattered in an instant.
And that's a pretty profound message. It blurs the lines between fiction and reality, right? Makes you think about how we navigate trust in our own lives.
Like the game is holding up a mirror, making us examine our own vulnerabilities.
And that's where the true power of these betrayals lies. They go beyond entertainment. They offer a glimpse into the complexities of human relationships. We question our own judgment, and we're reminded that trust, even in a digital world, can be both incredibly powerful and unbelievably fragile.
So we've got the surprise betrayals like Big Smoke, the ones you see coming like Micah Bell, and the mind-blowing twists like Atlas. Different approaches, but they all share one thing in common. They create these unforgettable experiences.
They do. These betrayals, they're testaments to the power of video games as a medium for storytelling. They evoke intense emotions, spark endless debates, and even make us question our own sense of trust and morality. And as games keep evolving, it'll be exciting to see what developers come up with next. How are they going to keep us on the edge of our seats? How are they going to find new ways to shock and surprise us?
I don't know about you, but I'm both terrified and excited to see what the future holds for video game betrayals. It really says something about the power of games that something as simple as a virtual character turning against you can have such a profound impact.
It does. And as we keep exploring these virtual worlds, we're bound to encounter new and even more intricate forms of betrayal. It's a constant reminder that trust, even in the digital world, is a precious and delicate thing. You know, it's funny, isn't it, how these betrayals, even though they're in video games, they kind of tap into something real about trust, like how we experience it in real life. Think about all the people we trust, friends, family, people we work with. Sometimes that trust gets broken.
Yeah, totally. That feeling of being let down, that rug pulled out from under you feeling, it's something we all get, right?
It is.
And video games, I guess, in a way, they give us a safe space to kind of explore those feelings.
Absolutely. It's like a way to work through the whole trust thing, loyalty, deception, all that, but without any real-life consequences. It can even help us understand those things better, I think, in our own lives.
Okay, but let's get back to the games themselves for a sec.
Huh.
When developers create these betrayals, they're not just throwing in a twist for shock value, right?
Oh, definitely not. They're really good betrayals. They're woven into the story. They're not just random. They grow out of the characters, the plot, the whole trust that gets built between the player and the characters.
So it's like a slow burn building up to that big reveal.
Exactly. Think about Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII. The game spends so long building him up as this legendary hero. Cloud and the other characters look up to him. The players do too. And then, boom, he shows his true colors.
That scene in the Nibelheim reactor when he snaps, man, it's etched in my memory. And it's not just the visuals. It's the emotional weight of seeing this hero become the villain.
And that's where the developers were so clever. They made you care about Sephiroth, genuinely care about him, only to then yank it away. It was shocking, but it also kind of felt inevitable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it was always there under the surface.
Exactly. They were playing the long game with our emotions, just like they were with Cloud.
Sneaky, sneaky.
And it created one of the most iconic betrayals in gaming. People still talk about it. Like, it became a part of gaming culture.
But let's be honest, sometimes these betrayals, they can feel kind of manipulative. Like the developers are just pulling strings to get a reaction out of us.
I see what you mean. It's a
Yeah.
tricky thing to balance, right? You want the betrayal to be powerful, but not cheap or unearned. When it's done well, though, it adds so much to the game.
Like the difference between a jump scare in a horror movie and a twist that really messes with your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
The good betrayals, they don't just shock you, they make you think. They make you feel things. And you keep thinking about them long after you've put the controller down.
That's it. It's got to have that lasting power.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between surprise and substance.
Absolutely. And it's something developers are always working on, right?
Right.
Because as players, we get more savvy. It takes more than just a twist to really make a betrayal memorable.
Makes you wonder what's next for betrayals in games, you know?
Yeah.
How are developers going to keep us guessing as we get more used to these things?
That's a great question. As technology gets better, stories get more complex, I think the possibilities for betrayals are, well, limitless. Imagine games where the line between the player and the character or reality in the game gets blurry.
Whoa. Okay, that's getting kind of meta.
Mm.
But yeah, I can see how that can make for some seriously mind-bending moments.
What if a game could betray you based on your own choices? Or what if the betrayal came from the game itself, not just a character?
Okay, now you're just messing with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta admit, that's a pretty wild thought. The game itself turning against you, that's next level.
And it's not impossible. With AI getting better and games giving players more choices, the potential is there for some truly innovative betrayals, stuff we haven't even thought of yet.
Man, I'm both excited and a little scared to see what the future holds.
Hmm.
It's kind of crazy that something as simple as a character in a game betraying you can evoke such strong feelings.
It is, but that's what's so cool about games, right? They can connect with us on a level that other forms of entertainment just can't.
Totally.
And those betrayals, even though they might sting in the moment, they're part of what makes these experiences so rich and memorable. They remind us how powerful storytelling can be and how complex human connection is, even when it's happening in a digital world.
So before we wrap things up, let's go back to that question from earlier. What's your most memorable video game betrayal? The one that left you speechless? Or maybe even a little heartbroken?
And as you're thinking about it, think about why it stuck with you. Was it the surprise, your connection with the character, or maybe the way it made you question your own choices in the game?
Share your stories with us. We want to hear about those moments that left you feeling betrayed, shocked, maybe even a little changed as a gamer.
Because in the end, those betrayals, even though they might be tough to go through, they're part of what makes gaming so amazing. They remind us how powerful storytelling can be and how complex human connections are, even in the digital world.
It's really something, isn't it? How these virtual betrayals, they can hit us with such real emotions. It's like it highlights the power games have to connect with us, not just on a surface level, but like deep down.
Definitely. And I think, as we wrap up our look at these betrayals in games, it's important to remember that those moments, even though they're often painful, they actually make gaming more engaging. They
Totally.
make the stories richer, more emotionally complex.
It's true. It's not something you always find in other forms of entertainment.
Exactly. Betrayals shake things up. They challenge our expectations, make us face tough choices, and honestly make those victories feel even sweeter.
Because, come on, everyone loves a good revenge story, right?
Yeah.
Especially after being betrayed.
Oh, for sure. There's something so satisfying about overcoming those obstacles, rising above that betrayal, and coming out on top.
So next time you're playing a game and someone backstabs you, remember, it's not just a cheap trick.
Right.
It's a chance to really get into the story, to feel a whole range of emotions,
Mhm.
and I think to appreciate how games can connect with us in these really powerful ways.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe you'll even learn something about trust and loyalty along the way.
Definitely food for thought. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into video game betrayals.
It does.
Until next time, everyone, keep on gaming and watch your back.